Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to tear apart a word you use constantly, a word that feels so simple, most. You think you know exactly what it means, right? Well, as we're about to find out, what's hiding behind that simple word is a really fascinating puzzle.
So let's just ask it straight up. What does most really mean? When you see something like, most of my friends love this show, what are you actually communicating? Is it just a simple number, like more than half? Or is there something way more complex and honestly way cooler going on underneath? The answer? Well, it's definitely not what you'd expect.
Take a look at this. Most of the dots on this screen are blue. That feels completely undeniably true, doesn't it? You don't even have to count them. Your brain just gets it. It does this super fast intuitive calculation and gives you a thumbs up. This is our starting point, the easy, common sense way we all think most works. Simple enough. But what happens when we can't just glance at it and know? How do you process a statement like, most stars in the universe are red dwarfs? We can't see them all. We're never going to count them all. All of a sudden, that simple intuition we had just completely falls apart when we're dealing with these gigantic, kind of vague, or maybe even infinite sets. So, to figure this out, our first stop has to be the world of math and logic. I mean, if we want a definition that's airtight, this is where you go. Let's see if we can build a perfect, logical box that most can fit inside of, with no wiggle room. The main tool for this job is something called Generalized Quantifier Theory, or GQT. Now that sounds super academic, I know, but the core idea is actually pretty simple. It says that words like most, all, some, a few, they aren't just words. They're basically logical operators, kind of like plus or minus in math. They describe a formal relationship between two different groups of things. And a key rule in GQT is this thing called conservativity. Again, sounds complex, but it's not. All it means is that if I say, most students are tired, the only group we need to look at is students. We don't care about professors or parents or literally anyone else on the planet. The truth of that statement is conserved right inside that first group, set A. It's a really important shortcut. Okay, so for things we can actually count, this theory gives us two main ways to pin down most. On the left, you have what you could call the more in the overlap view. It just asks, is the number of students who are tired bigger than the number of students who are not tired? Simple comparison. Then on the right, you have the one we all know, more than half. Is the number of tired students more than 50% of all the students? They often get you the same answer, but not always. All right, so the math gives us this really solid logical foundation. But let's be real. Human language is anything but clean and precise. It's messy, it's ambiguous. So what happens when these perfect logical boxes crash into the fuzzy, blurry words we use every single day? I mean, those definitions work pretty well for most, but what about its cousins? How does a strict numbers-based model handle words that are designed to be vague? Think about it. Words like many or a few. What number is many? Is it 10? Is it 100? 1,000? It depends, right? That's the whole point of the word. You see, most isn't a lone wolf. It's part of this whole family of words that linguists call intermediate quantifiers. And for every single one of these, the meaning is totally dependent on the context. A few mistakes on a test is worlds away from a few asteroids hitting the Earth. So to handle this kind of problem, we need a totally different toolkit. Enter fuzzy logic. You know, traditional logic is all black and white. A statement is either 100% true or 100% false. But fuzzy logic lives in the gray areas. It allows for degrees of truth. A statement can be like 80% true or 30% true. It's a system literally built to handle all the maybes and kinda sortas of real language. Okay, so we have the hard math, and we have a way to deal with vagueness, but there is one final, absolutely critical piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet. Us, people. How do we, as human beings, actually use and understand these words in a real conversation? Because sometimes just being logically true isn't the whole story. This gets us to a huge debate in the field of linguistics. On one side, you have the truth conditional camp. They say a word's meaning is basically its strict logical dictionary definition. On the other side, you have the prototype camp. They argue that meaning is all about the best mental picture we have of something. You know, when someone says bird, you probably think of a robin, not an ostrich. That robin is your prototype. So who's right?
Well, a really cool modern approach called probabilistic pragmatism basically says, why choose? It suggests that you can have a strict, logical definition at the core, but it only really works if you add a layer of human social reasoning on top. It's about a speaker choosing their words based on how they think the listener is going to interpret them. And this is the magic right here. When we talk, we are doing so much more than just listing facts. We're constantly relying on shared knowledge, on context, on unspoken assumptions. If I walk in and say, most of the pizza is gone, you don't just hear a percentage, you hear, there's still some left, but you'd better hurry up. That extra meaning, the stuff between the lines, that's pragmatics.
All right, we've looked at this from the logical angle, the fuzzy angle, and the human angle. Now it's time to put all the pieces together on the table and build a complete picture of what this little word most is actually doing. So here's how it all stacks up. These ideas aren't fighting each other. They're layers in a recipe. First, you start with the hard, logical skeleton provided by GQT. That's your foundation. Then, you add a layer of flexibility with fuzzy logic, allowing that rigid structure to bend and stretch to fit the situation. And finally, you wrap the whole thing in the crucial outer layer of human context and pragmatics, which fine-tunes the meaning for that exact moment, for that specific conversation. And that brings us to the single biggest takeaway of this whole explainer. Most isn't just a static number on a page, like 51%. It is an incredibly sophisticated, dynamic calculation that our brains are doing in milliseconds. It's blending formal logic, fuzzy reasoning, and social context all at once. It's a tiny marvel of cognitive engineering happening every time you speak. So think about it. If a simple four-letter word like most is hiding all of this complexity, what other everyday words are we using without realizing the incredible calculations happening just beneath the surface? What else are we all miscalculating? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.